A long time ago, in a small quiet town, there lived an old man and his wife. Their names were John Miller and Mary Miller. They were very poor, and they had no children.
No son.
No daughter. Nothing. Their house was small and old at the edge of the town. But even though life was hard, something inside them was very beautiful. Kindness. Every morning, Mary would water her little garden flowers. John would sit on a wooden chair outside, smiling at people passing by. They had no children, but they never became bitter. Instead, they always said, "We may not have kids, but we still have love to give." One day, something happened in the town. A young boy stole money from a shop. The whole town became angry. People shouted, "He should be punished." The boy was scared. He was crying. He had nowhere to go. Then someone said, "Take him to John and Mary. They always know what to do." So they brought the boy to their house. The room was quiet. John looked at the boy and said nothing. Mary looked at him with soft eyes. Then she gently asked, "Why did you do it, my boy?" The boy cried and said, "I was hungry. I didn't know what else to do." Silence filled the room. John slowly shook his head and said, "Stealing solves nothing. It only creates more pain." But Mary did something surprising. She stood up and went to the kitchen. She came back with warm food. She placed it in front of the boy and said, "Eat first, then we talk." The boy cried harder, but not from fear anymore, from emotion, from feeling cared for. After he ate, John said softly, "You will go back. You will work to repay what you took." The boy nodded, and that day, his life changed forever. Another time, two men in the town were fighting over land. It became very serious. People gathered. Shouting started. Anger grew. It was about to become violence. Someone quickly said, "Take them to John and Mary." When they arrived, John did not shout. Mary did not judge. They just listened, quietly, patiently. When both men finished speaking, John stood up. He walked outside and looked at the land. Then he said, "This land is small, but your anger has made your hearts even smaller." Everyone went silent. Then Mary said softly, "If you plant peace here, both of you will harvest happiness." The two men looked at each other. Slowly, their anger dropped. One of them stretched his hand out. The other shook it. The fight ended. Peace returned. Years passed. Anytime there was a problem in the town, people went to John and Mary. A broken marriage? They helped. A lost child? They guided. A sad mother? They comforted. A confused young man? They advised. Even the town mayor respected them deeply. People started calling them the heart of the town. But at night, when everything was quiet, Mary sometimes sat by the window in silence. She would whisper, "I wish I had a child who could call me Mom." John would hold her hand and say, "Maybe God made us parents to everyone, not just one child." One winter, John became very sick. The whole town came to visit. The same people they once helped now came to help them. The boy who once stole money was now a strong man. He stayed by John's side every day. The two men who once fought over land now worked together and brought food. Mary sat beside John, holding his hand tightly. She whispered with tears in her eyes, "Look, we may not have children, but we raised this whole town." John smiled weakly and said, "Yes, and that is enough." That night, John passed away peacefully. The town cried deeply, felt like they lost a father. After his funeral, Mary was not alone. People visited her every day. Children came to sit with her. Young people helped her with everything. She was no longer just an old woman. She was Mom Mary to everyone. Every time someone called her Mom, she smiled and remembered John. Years later, Mary also passed away. The whole town gathered again. They buried her beside John. And the mayor said, "They had no children, but they raised us all." You don't need to give birth to be a parent. Sometimes, kindness makes you a mother or father to many hearts. And the love you give becomes the family you leave behind.